I'm well. Thank you for asking. And how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So yeah, the intention of this conversation is really just to open people's eyes, open people's minds to chiropractic, and I felt like you would be a great example, somebody that I've been paying attention to from afar, just because you're in New York, not far from where I grew up, and I had tried connecting with you as a student. It didn't work out back then, but here we are. So.
So
Um,
cool.
Can you just get us started by just introducing yourself and just kind of sharing what attracted you to becoming a chiropractor?
Sure. Well, basically, my name is Dr. Jay Handt. I am a chiropractor on the Upper West Side of Manhattan on Central Park West. I've been in practice for just over 43 years now. I have a son and daughter that are both chiropractors. And basically, I got into chiropractic uh, by an accident. Not a physical accident. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I was growing up. My father met my mother's chiropractor. He was impressed. He goes, "Why don't you go meet your mother's chiropractor? Seems like a good profession." Because I was a biophysics major in undergraduate, and there was really nowhere to go with that other than research or teaching, of which I didn't want to do either. I met him. He goes, "So what do you think?" I go, "Well, it seems interesting. It's a good profession. There's no blood, no guts. I think, I'll check into it." I had just applied to optometry school, and I told him, "Well, whichever school I get accepted to first, chiropractic or optometry, that's where I'm going to go." So he pulled an application out of his drawer, made me fill it out in his office, took it back, and in 2 days, I got an interview at the college, and in 2 days after that, I was accepted to chiropractic school.
Mm,
Later on, it turned out what I found out was that he was on the board of the school I was accepted to, and he wanted to make sure I became a chiropractor, not an optometrist. So he bypassed all the red tape and got me right into the school.
mm,
My first trimester in school, I fell in love with the profession, and it's been a love story ever since.
mhm. Can you talk about what made you fall in love with the profession? What it was that you discovered or that you opened your eyes to when you arrived on that campus?
But what I fell in love with, I was very analytical, and coming from a scientific mind, everything was like sort of black and white. And when I got in and started learning about universal intelligence and innate intelligence and how the power that made the body heals the body, I was in awe. And, like I would ask questions to one of my professors, and he would like throw them right back at me. We'll talk like, let's say in embryology, you go meiosis, mitosis, and all that. And I said, so there's a whole scientific process. And he would go, well, what initiates the process? And he kept bringing it back down to where it had to be some power that was bigger than you could put on. And that's when I fell in love with the idea of universal and innate intelligence. And then in my first trimester, I started to go to a couple philosophy meetings. Same professor goes, listen, this Saturday night, there's a meeting in Queens, New York. Why don't you come and see what it's about? And then I started to fall in love with the philosophy, and really started to trust the process. And
Mhm.
every week, or not every week, every month we had a philosophy meeting. And then I wound up in Atlanta at another philosophy meeting. And I just surrounded myself with a lot of principled chiropractors and students of like mind. And we just grew together through school. And it just kept the philosophy just became a stronger and stronger part of my life, to the point where, my kids are, I said, I'm not a chiropractor. I live chiropractic. My whole life is a chiropractic lifestyle. I live innately. So that's really what I fell in love with, that innate possibility that this body is a self healing, self generating, self repairing organism. And you just have to get the interference out of the way and have it work as close to 100% as possible.
Mhm. For the teen, like when your kids were growing up, maybe they were in their teenage years, or maybe they had just entered into college, like
No,
right out of high school. What was it that you were offering them? Obviously, you were an example for them, and you raised them in a different way. Maybe you could touch on that, but also, like, what was it that attracted them to do what it was that they saw you doing or you being as their dad?
well, it was very funny. My oldest son, Josh, who's in practice with me now, probably 14 years. Uh, when he got into college, I kept saying, Josh, take science courses just in case you want to become a chiropractor, because I'm not going to become a chiropractor. So he went through college and then got a degree in marketing and finance. And at the end of his last semester in college, I go, okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to go to for your master's, you're going to go get a job and then go for your master's or your MBA. And he goes, I'm thinking about it. And for 6 months, he had interned at Sony in their marketing department. And he comes home one day and he goes, okay, I decided what I'm going to do. And I go, what? He goes, get me into chiropractic school. I go, what? You didn't take any, which back then you had to take in 2 years of prereqs. So I was going to go a little bit crazy. I go, that's nice. How come? He goes, well, I spent some time, in the real world, and I think I like the chiropractic world better. So I said, great. And he started chiropractic school. Then 2, 3 years later, my daughter went to NYU and on a full scholarship also for marketing and sports and entertainment management. She gets out, also gets hired right out of Sony at like 21 to manage a department. She's doing great. And 2 years later, she comes home and she goes, well, Dad, I just gave my notice, get me into chiropractic college. And I go, why do you want to go to chiropractic? Goes, well, working for 2 years at Sony, I did a great job. Nobody appreciates me. I'm living in a cubicle. I don't see people. She goes, all my kids worked in my office when they were young, on the weekends. She goes, when I was in the office, everybody loved coming in. Everybody appreciated you. Everybody was smiling. It's great. That's the life I want. So she went to chiropractic school. So, we all got into it for different reasons, but it wasn't because, oh my God, we're destined to be chiropractors. Even though my kids were adjusted literally from birth, we had midwife deliveries, they were adjusted from birth. They grew up, Josh likes telling patients, he's like, I think 41 now. He goes, in 41 years, I've never had an aspirin, and I've never had a drug. And my kids have grown up in that lifestyle, very healthy, very active, and all chiropractic.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about your professional engagement currently? I see that you're about to speak at one of the upcoming Sherman events. What keeps you engaged as someone who's been practicing for over 40 years now? Like, what is it that keeps that fire burning? Is it that same initial message that you heard and that made you fall in love with it? Or is it a sense of responsibility that you feel you have right now to give back? Where are you at currently, mentally and physically, and just with chiropractic engagement?
Well, the coolest thing for me with chiropractic is it's never been a job. It's a love. It's my life. And I was actually telling a patient this yesterday because she asked me about being in practice so long. I said the coolest thing about chiropractic is no two people are alike. And I go, if I was just moving bones, that's boring as all hell. But having the opportunity to turn on life on so many people and watch them express it so differently, every day is an excitement. Every day is something new, and I'm not even going to say challenging because chiropractic isn't challenging. If when you trust that that innate works, that the body, they're always going to do better. Some do better quicker than others, but they're always going to do better, without a subluxation than with a subluxation. Where I'm at now, I keep fully engaged in the profession. I've been on the board of trustees of Life University in Atlanta for probably, I think, 13 or 14 years now. I work with the students at Life, and I do their leadership weekends. I do facilitating with their prospective students. The event that you're talking about, Sherman, I'm on the board of trustees on the board for New Beginnings, and that's where I'm speaking there. I'm constantly putting myself out into the chiropractic world. I've had the privilege of lecturing about chiropractic literally all over the world. My wife and I've lectured in Australia, in China, in Hong Kong, in Spain, in Italy, in Germany. What else? Like I said, literally all over the world. We've traveled on talking and bringing the chiropractic message out. So there's always something exciting about chiropractic to share.
Mm-hmm. So with that perspective that you have, having been around the world, having shared chiropractic with like different demographics, different people from different cultures, obviously you've seen that it resonates with people no matter where they're from or what their culture is. But also there's people that deny chiropractic, and we don't need to necessarily get into that. I would love for you to maybe just touch on the state of the profession as you see it from the vantage point that you have, having been engaged as long as you have. But maybe just giving a little bit of context to any prospective students out there, a little bit about how the profession has kind of diverged and is not necessarily on the same page with itself, but also I would love for you to.
Okay. We were
Yep.
just off for about 10 seconds. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, if you could provide a little bit of context on what it's like to be a chiropractor traveling the world and engaging with different cultures and
Can
how
you
they're
keep,
accepting of it or how it's in alignment with them,
okay.
that would be interesting for me to hear from you.
Can you repeat that? Because you just froze and I missed the beginning part of that.
Are you on your cell phone or your laptop?
My cell phone.
Do you have it on Do Not Disturb right now?
Yes.
You do. Okay.
I'm just double checking.
You can scroll up and there's like a half moon or something
Yeah,
like that. Yep.
you're on Do Not Disturb. Yep.
All right. Awesome. Okay. I don't know what the connection breakup was. Can you hear me clearly now?
Now I can. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Um, Two things I was asking you. One is, could you just share what it's like to travel the world and share chiropractic with different cultures? Because that was one of the things that I most appreciate, having been to multiple countries and being able to meet people in other cultures and having this message and having this awareness that we have as chiropractors resonate. Can you just maybe start us with that piece?
Oh, sure. I actually love speaking about chiropractic outside the United States. The United States is probably one of the most skeptical countries in the world when it comes to alternative healthcare. When you go outside of the country, people are excited, they're enthusiastic. I think it's what chiropractic was probably in the 30s and the 40s, where people were eager to find out more about it, and they're they also are not so. A lot of the countries are not as drug dependent, medical dependent as the United States are. So they're very open to drug free, surgery free approaches to life. Um, Especially in some of the European countries, they've had osteopaths for years, and so chiropractic comes in, and it's another natural healing art that they're excited about. And so I find that the people themselves more interested. The chiropractors are more excited about chiropractic around the world. I did one program in Germany, which blew my mind. During the program, I somebody had invited me to do a 1 day program out there, and I'm meeting him for breakfast before the program, and he goes, "Listen, I just have to, let you know a little bit about your audience." And I go, "Okay." He goes, "Well, there's a lot of chiropractors, there's CAs, but there are a bunch of medical doctors that are going to be in the program." And I go, "Medical doctors?" He goes, "Well, it's medical doctors that have chosen to become chiropractors." So I said, "Okay, that's interesting." And throughout the program, the most questions were from these it was 6 or 8 of them that were these MDs, and the questions were not about diagnosis, not about pathology. It was about chiropractic philosophy, the lifestyle. How do you explain innate to the patients? They were so excited about chiropractic. And when they would give an adjustment, because they had tables at the program, they were so specific and so into the adjustment. It was like there was this ray of hope that, like, wow, if these guys could get it. And I mean, one of them was a trauma surgeon, one was an ER surgeon, there were 2 orthopedists, there was an OB/GYN that literally traded their license in medicine to become chiropractors. So, I mean, where in the States would you see that? In the States, you see the exact opposite. A lot of chiropractors that would love to trade their chiropractic license in so they could do drugs and surgery. And here are guys that are trading in drugs and surgery so they can just trust innate in their hands to turn on life. So I think that was one of my most exciting times in that and watching that. The young docs in Australia love chiropractic. They're excited. As a matter of fact, they have a program called the Innate Summit out there by Sam Floriani and his wife Gabby. Excited, pro chiropractic, all about the philosophy. So you can look around and find great chiropractors wherever you go. And I pride myself on hanging out only with great chiropractors that live the principle. So Europe was great, Asia was great. Going into Hong Kong and China, it's really interesting, especially in Beijing, where they have a profession of bone setters. They do manual manipulations, and we were doing one program there where they were showing how they manipulate the spine and all the bones of the body. And one of the people who was running our trip goes, "Okay, now I'll show you what a chiropractic adjustment looks like," and they were blown away. So China's open to it because it's sort of a bridge between traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine, which is a big conflict there. Hong Kong chiropractic is opening up and starting to flow there. There's one chiropractor there I know, he has like, you know, 30 offices, and every place he goes, his offices are flooded with patients. People around the world look are excited about chiropractic. So sometimes I said, boy, if I did this over again, I think I'd go to a place that's been under that chiropractic hadn't been discovered in, and then go and just start turning on life and see what happens. But yeah, it's great traveling around that way.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, just to touch on it, you live in New York, so you know how diverse communities can kind of be separated from other communities. Like there's pockets of communities, and there are a lot of communities right in our own
Mhm.
backyard that really are not utilizing chiropractic. They're not familiar with the philosophy of chiropractic or the chiropractic lifestyle, but it does align perfectly with the type of uh, principles and messages that they're studying every Sunday in church. I'm speaking specifically about the Black community or the Latin communities.
Mhm.
They are very much open to chiropractic once they hear what chiropractic is, and are not necessarily going off of what they heard it was from the TV or from, uh, a doctor telling them don't see a chiropractor. Can you kind of just touch on what it's been like reflecting on just the consciousness of the people that come into your office in New York? And how you meet them where they're at and invite them to come into your world, and how they accept that, or how that challenges their beliefs, and just trying to bring a pre-Cairo student into the mindset of what it's like to be in practice and really meet people where they're at, but also invite them into your way of seeing things.
Well, the coolest part of being where I am in Manhattan is I have a pretty eclectic practice. Um, I take care of everyone from, some homeless people up to CEOs of billion-dollar companies. Take care of some high profile, movie people and theater people. So it's exciting. And each one, again, one of my friends sees a huge volume of, have seen a huge volume of patients, when asked how many patients he says one. And somebody goes, one? He goes, yeah, all I see is the one patient I'm with at that point. It doesn't make a difference whether I see 10 people a day or 200 people a day. All I see is that one person. And on the Upper West Side, to me, it's very much like that. Whether I'm taking care of people that come down from the Bronx or from Harlem or from Spanish Harlem, or I'm taking care of somebody that's, coming off a movie set, needing to get adjusted and going back onto the set. It- you, each one of them, if you treat each person individually and meet them at their model of the world, what exceeding their expectations, and what I find, that's very easy when you tell the chiropractic story. It really doesn't make a difference what background you're coming from. Most people get it, because if medicine worked the way they say it works, we wouldn't be, the United States wouldn't be in the state it's in. And so what we're finding is, if you give them a viable alternative and an explanation as to how it works, why it works, and how it's going to affect their lives, they get it. We take care, like, when we take care of some um, singers from the Metropolitan Opera. they know that they're coming in, it's changing their voice quality, it's changing their octave range, it changes the level of stress when they're on stage. So they're coming in for performance, they're not coming in for pain. We have a lot of people, New York City Marathon, that are athletes. I wish I could say that's me, but I'm as far from an athlete as you could get. But my son Josh is like, he does 100-mile races and stuff. So he meets the athletes that they're modeling and can talk to them. Um, you know, and what I find, like you're talking about, like the Spanish population, they're used to not having a lot of doctors around, which I think is a good thing. They don't run for every little ill. So when you give them an opportunity to get healthy without drugs, without surgery, that's part of their world. They love it. So we love that. Uh, like, I love my practice because it's so diverse. I like it where, this may sound bad, I don't have a big family practice. For years, I tried to, and then I realized I really enjoy taking care of theater people and CEOs and high profile people. And yes, we have some families come in and we got a bunch of couples come in, but I enjoy the excitement of the diversity. And that's the coolest thing about practice. You could have any practice you want. When my daughter came into practice with me, she was had a little trepidation. She goes, "Well, she really pediatric practice." And I said, "Well, you create what you want in your life." I said, "Come into the office and just look out the window." And you look out of my waiting room window, it looks across the street to the 69th Street entrance to Central Park. I said, "Just count how many strollers go into the park in the next 15 minutes." And she was like blown away. So I said, "If you want a pediatric practice, they're here." And when she started practice, probably 75% of her practice were pregnant women and babies. So you can create whatever you want in your life. My son attracts more athletes into the practice because that's his dream. And for me, I attract what I want into my practice. So as a prospective student or someone thinking about going into chiropractic, the greatest thing about it is you can really call your practice or attract into your practice anything you want. You want to be a sports chiropractor, you got it. The athletes want. You want to be a chiropractor to the stars, you can do that too. You want to be a corporate chiropractor and work in. I have a friend that she goes to corporations and just takes care of, goes in and takes care of the whole corporation. So that to me, the greatest gift in chiropractic, other than its healing ability, but as a chiropractor from a business point of view, you get to be your own boss. You get to determine what your hours are going to be. You get to determine the type of clientele you want to take care of. It's great. Like I said, I can travel all over the world. I can work 2 days a week. I can work 5 days a week. It's my choice. And I think that's a magical thing where so many people are stuck in a 9 to 5 job. And now there's no such thing as a 9 to 5 job with telecommuting where people are at work 12, 15 hours a day. I don't have to do that unless I want to. So it as a from a business point of view, I think it's a great way to have a very healthy and good life.
Mhm. So, Life University, if I'm a prospective student, why is Life my top choice? Why are you so passionate about supporting that school? Also, maybe touch on Sherman because it sounds like you have a love for them and an affinity for them as well. But what's different about these schools than, say, some of the other schools that are out there?
Well, what I find with Life University and why I've chosen to be part of it, it's always held the principle and it's always been on the cutting edge of chiropractic advancement. And when I say chiropractic advancement, it's constantly pushing the philosophy out and figuring out new ways to do it, figuring out great ways to give. One of the committees I was on the board was the student experience. And what I love about Life, it's a student-centered school. We do everything we can to improve the community, the environment, and the education for students all along. From building a new, we built a, what was it? Socrates. It's a new cafeteria, but it's a cafeteria for meeting. not just for eating. So students go there to study. You know, our student housing is geared around study groups and community. Our even our leadership weekend, like, well, our leadership weekend is when we bring prospective students in, and when we design that, what it was designed is to actually convince students not to come. And I know that sounds crazy, but the reason we wanted to do that is so many students start in a profession, and after 6 months decide, well, I really don't want to be here. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. So we put on a weekend where we bring them to the school, we give them a tour of the school, we talk to them about finances, we have them meet the students, we have them, and we have a whole program on chiropractic. So we teach them about chiropractic. Dr. Eric Plaska does a, um, a presentation on chiropractic. Dr. Rob Scott, the president of the school, does a presentation on chiropractic. And then we finish the program on Saturday, where myself and a few other people do a low ropes course to facilitate problem solving and making quality choices. And then we have a testimonial dinner on Saturday night. By the end of that 3 days that they're at Life, we let them know, by the end of this time, you're going to know definitely whether you want to be a chiropractor or you don't want to be a chiropractor. And if you do, this is where we want you to come. And we probably have a 75% sign up rate of prospective students by the time the weekend's over, because they've also, like myself, once they heard what chiropractic was, they fell in love with it. And so that's great. And so that's, I said, like, even with Life, our research department just came up. I don't know if you remember what it was like trying to learn how to adjust and how painful it could be as a chiropractic student being worked on. We just came up with the research department came up with this mannequin that you feels just like a human body, and when you adjust it, it gives you your line of force, your direction, your depth of it's amazing. And I was actually skeptical of it until I saw this thing work. It's like, wow, so many people are afraid to adjust as a student, and this gives you that confidence when you can move the same bone 20 times on this mannequin until you got, that was it. There's the magic. And then you go put your hands on a live person, and it's like, wow, so much easier. So there's a lot of, like I said, the thing I love best about the school is that it's student centered. We're constantly looking how to improve their community, their environment, their education, and most importantly, make them successful chiropractors when they go into the field. It's a big school, we have a lot of students, and it's also, but people get confused. It's both a university and a chiropractic college. So we have an undergraduate program, we have master's programs, and there are a lot of chiropractor students that'll do a dual program where they can go through the chiropractic and get a master's in nutrition, a master's in sports, a master's in positive psychology, which are all help them in the type of chiropractic practice that they want. So there's just so much to offer at Life. And like I said, I've been involved with it actually since 1978. And every year it just seems to be getting better.
I love,
and
no,
go ahead. No.
no,
I just so that's where my excitement is at Life, and I think they've said that your life is based around the 5 people you hang out with the most. And when I go to the board meetings, the coolest thing about being on the Life board, it's not only a working board, but everybody on there are my friends, and they're successful. The chiropractors are really successful chiropractors, so I'm always hanging out with people of like mind, and that's, I think, a positive driving force at the university or the College of Chiropractic.
Last question, because I just want to be respectful of your time. With this pre-Chiro project, one of the aims is to really build infrastructure so that we can actually create almost like a robust curriculum and experience that we can take a student through, where we take them through the foundational premises and principles, and also just help them understand what chiropractic is, why chiropractic is different, and why people become chiropractors. But we also try and expose them to the skill set in sort of that second level I'm splitting innate up into your inner state, which is your inner scientist, thinker, artist, teacher, and entrepreneur. And I'm
Mhm.
just curious, like for you, um, thinking on that, what do you think is crucial or essential for a prospective student to gain experience in? I didn't really just touch on levels 3, 4, 5, or 6, but really, after they leave a life leadership weekend and maybe they still have 2 years of undergrad or prerequisites, or, um, you know, they're preparing themselves to go to chiropractic school. Do you have any specific advice or specific sort of experiences that you believe that they should encounter or engage with before going?
Well, I definitely think if they're doing that pre-chiropractic thing, they should find a chiropractor that they can start getting adjusted by. There's no replacement for actually getting adjusted. You can talk about it all you want, but that hands-on experience and seeing the difference. So I think that's one thing. If there are a couple of the colleges have pre-chiro clubs where they actually get in and have speakers come in and get involved. Find a chiropractor as a mentor that you can shadow or go into their office and watch and listen to what goes on. Um, Start reading some of the I'm not saying to read the green books because sometimes they get way out of you really have to understand chiropractic. But if you even picked up a book like Stevenson's, the 33 Principles, and just to start reading or looking through that, um, to me, it's the engagement. Find some other prospective students that see. That's another really great thing about the leadership weekend, especially because when we do the ropes courses, these people get to really learn a lot about each other when they're sharing. They forge these preschool bonds where they stay in touch with each other. When are you getting accepted? When are you going? Oh, you're 2 years out. Oh, I'm going in the fall. And so there's a connection with that. A lot of the students at the leadership weekends have connected with Student Life Force, which are student organization that's geared towards create working with prospective students. So they get mentorship for them. There's the student ambassadors at life, which are another organization that helps students navigate through the school. So after these leadership weekends, the prospective students have a lot of these current students names and email addresses and phone numbers, so they keep in touch with them. The whole thing, I think, is keeping connected. And even like if you're doing a podcast, uh, have a podcast once a week for prospective students. Hey, join us. We'll have a guest talk about chiropractic. We'll have a guest talk about the business of chiropractic, the technique of chiropractic. Just keeping them engaged and keeping them excited that they're going in the right direction. I think that becomes magical.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Thank you. Yeah, no, my one of my bigger frustrations is that you look at the investment in the prospective student. I know Life University does a great job, and Sherman as well. They have the ROAR program, and then there's the Life Force Doc program, and there are these outlets around the world that people who are students that are looking for a path of purpose can get tapped into these chiropractic offices, but I just think that these life leadership weekends or the Champions for Life at Life West, they leave students on a high and they leave them excited and engaged. And like you just said, keeping them engaged and giving them enough that they can see the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of preparing for chiropractic school to be full with chiropractic related things that can really have them show up on day one, just like really focused on chiropractic, so and clear on why they're becoming chiropractors, so that we can have less students uh you know sign up for the wrong reasons and then find out 6 months later, like you said, that this is not the right path
All
for
right.
them.
Right. And I mean, and like I've seen it, like I said, I've been doing the leadership weekends. I think we started them about 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And the more we push the students into making a choice based on the new knowledge that they have, the lower the attrition rate we've seen in the school. So we're finding that giving them the options, giving them the education before they get in. And when they meet with the student ambassadors, the ambassadors are honest. They say, listen, this is what school's like. This is how many hours you're going to have to put in. It's not like undergraduate. It's a lot more work. And it's not that they're scaring them, but they're saying, you're going to have to, buckle down and really put a lot of time into this thing. We have a lot of fun here, but it's a lot of work. And so it's letting them know up front. Because, in the beginning, the leadership week ones, oh, wow, this just seems like such a party. Everybody's having a great time. Students are all happy and stuff. And that's when people were coming for all the wrong reasons, I thought. And as we perfected the program, we're getting more and more students starting for the right reasons. Another big plus, especially with at Life, is because we have these Life Force stocks. Right now, over close to 60 or 70% of the prospective students coming to these leadership weekends are being referred by Life Force stocks. The reason that's important is because it means that these prospective students have already had some form of chiropractic, or an introduction to chiropractic. So it's like I call it a third party endorsement. So they're already endorsing the profession, and then they come to Life and get this huge amount of information about chiropractic and chiropractic school. And so that's also making a big difference. Even through the pandemic, I think the last leadership weekend we had, I think, 160 prospective students and guests. And that's with a pandemic and with all the baloney that's going on with that. So it's a profession that people still want to get into. And I think more so than ever. It's best.
Absolutely.
And what they say, today's the best time to become a chiropractor. It's the best time in the world now.
Thank you so much for your time, Jay. Appreciate you. And let's just stay connected. I'd love to just share with you the Pre-Chiro project as it unfolds and just get your perspective on it, because it sounds like it's an audience that you've been serving for many years now.
Oh, I'd love it. Anything I can do to help you, just let me know. This is my passion. It's been my passion since I got into chiropractic school. And, my last thing is patients keep asking me when I'm going to retire. I go, why would I retire from something I love? I said, I may take a lot more time off and do more traveling once the skies open up again. But other than that, there's no reason to stop doing what you love. Keeps me engaged, excited. And the more lives I turn on, the more it turns my life on. So I'm excited about it. So thank you so much for having me on, Ben. And like I said, anything I can do for you, just keep in touch.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions of me before we get off here? Just out of curiosity, just wanting to know where this is going or why I'm up to this, or are you just happy to see that it's happening, or are you, do you see any?
Well, first, I'm thrilled that it is happening. I think it's fantastic. I think it's something that's needed. I'm excited that you've chosen to do it. And yeah, the one question is why for you? Like, why this? Why is this your passion now?
I mean, 10 years ago, I was a student in kinesiology at Temple University. I was a college athlete. I was a personal trainer. I was studying human movement, and I had actually started going to massage school because I didn't know what I was going to do after I graduated. And my massage anatomy teacher was a chiropractor, and he said, "Nah, don't become a chiropractor. It's too difficult." And obviously there's a reason he was saying that, but I didn't necessarily buy into that. I had one experience with chiropractic. I had fallen asleep on the highway after scuba diving, flipped my car, ended up in a chiropractor's office. Had an amazing experience, but it was only a 4 or 5 visit experience, and there was no philosophy. There were definitely some questions that I had been asked that I'd never been asked before, and taken care of in a way that was different. But anyway, fast forward to my last semester at college. I'm doing an independent study project. I'm interviewing different types of healthcare professionals. I was volunteering at a Camden hospital doing heroin research. I was working as a personal trainer at a local optometry school, thinking I might go to that optometry school, and this was like a way for me to build a relationship with them. And I applied for a physician's assistant program, got out of that, didn't feel connected to it, didn't feel like it was the right fit. And I'm walking down the street. I walk into a different chiropractor's office, which was situated inside of a gym. And that's where I got introduced to just what chiropractic was from a completely different angle. I sought out other chiropractors in the area. I found a Life Force chiropractor, not through the website, but just by chance. And he started really teaching me about the philosophy. And I had him come and speak to the freshmen at that school where
Cool.
there was like 150 students in the intro to kinesiology class. And he just stood up there with a spine, told the chiropractic story, and just really shifted the consciousness of the whole audience who was there for kinesiology and hearing about chiropractic, most of them for the first time ever. And I just saw how attracted they were to him, and it really like shook me to my core that like, why is this not being represented to students who are perfectly primed and interested in it? And I went and chose a school of chiropractic that was based on location. You know, I had visited Life, I
Hmm.
visited Life West. I went to a leadership style weekend at Life University, but I chose a school up in Portland, Oregon, mainly because I had a family connection with a chiropractor that worked nearby, but also because I really enjoyed Portland. And I transferred out of there after 6 months of getting exposure on the weekends to different seminars where I was hearing the philosophy. I was hearing a different message than was existing on that campus. And when I transferred to the school down in California, Life West, I got exposure to so much, and I
Hmm.
was really kind of angry that the schools don't talk to each other. So I wasn't being given access to the same resources at the school I was at in Portland that I had access to down in the Bay Area. And the more I grew, the more I developed myself, the more I cared about connecting students and building bridges. So I started a program called Chiro Movement where I connected students at like 18 schools in 9 different countries, and we were all just trying to share resources. And then I graduated, and this thing has just been something that I keep coming back to in my reflections, in my journals, and I keep writing about because I think that there's so much to process along the way that students fall off or they get distracted, or things get watered down because there's so much information. And I had some great mentors. My lineage is like through Reggie Gold, Arno Bernier, Jake Kamarick,
Hmm.
Donnie Epstein, yeah, and a number of other people. I was very
Hmm.
resourceful and I was very much exploring things. But I took that energy and I touched a lot of students at Life West, and I saw them flourish. And I've been in practice now for about 8 years, and now I'm starting to have a little bit of money set aside for things like this that are near and dear to my heart that I can invest in and develop. Because I remember hearing Reggie Gold a couple months before he passed say that one of his biggest achievements in life was that he had sent about 170 people to chiropractic school to become chiropractors. And
Hmm.
170 seemed like a lot to me at that moment. And now I'm recognizing that, like, with the internet, it's so much greater, the potential. And so I just think that
Definitely.
the profession is subluxated in a sense that it's not connected. As you mentioned, it's not connected with the prospective student audience at all. It's only coming from the schools, the admissions departments. And so if we could have a third party endorsement, as you say, come from a place that is an actual organization that's designed to reach the people with chiropractic, I think that it could be instrumental to just growing the profession and growing the sort of shared experiences that you mentioned are so important that students get at Life Leadership Weekend. They have those shared experiences, they stay connected to one another. And I think that if that was true, no matter what school you went to, you had some level of shared mutual respect, that would change the narrative for our profession and, as I like to say, adjust the profession in a way. So.
Well, I agree, and I do find it interesting that the three schools that are doing the leadership weekends are Life West, and Sherman, and they're the ones that I've lectured at a lot of different schools, and they're the ones that are still holding the philosophy dear, still pushing the profession in the direction that I know I wanted, and I'm sure you do. And so one of the things I've learned in life is you can't be everything to everybody. So if you stick with the three schools and get them to grow and get them, keep them moving in that direction, that's why I'm involved. Yeah, I think that's what's going to save us in the future. And I want my great grandkids to be able to get adjusted by a chiropractor, and the more students we can get into schools, the greater chance I have of that happening. So I'm behind you 100% in that. I think it's great.
Thank you. And then the last point is, if we're starting a school in Hong Kong, what's the context builder? How do we actually contextualize this career path, or this vocation, this calling, to the people out there in these new countries that we're seeing the schools pop up out? So there's a new quote unquote vitalistic school opening in Australia this year, also in Barcelona, obviously New Zealand. There's a school opening in Scotland. And so these schools need support if they're going to be sustainable. And I think that new schools could prop up potentially, or crop up, if those, if the soil is tended to.
Well, the school in Australia is open. The new vitalistic school with Pat Sims. I was actually at the grand opening last year. With new school, they're working really hard. They're, a lot of government stuff in Australia, hurdles to go over, but they have students. They have their first class going. I think they just started their second class. So they're up, they're moving, they're excited. It's wonderful to watch the birth of real chiropractic around the world. Same thing with Barcelona and stuff like that. So yeah, we're there. I mean, you got Barcelona, you got McTimony, you got New Zealand, you got Life West, Sherman. You got the new Australian school. So slowly we're taking over. So if we can get these schools just to grow a little bit more and a little bit more every year, that's where the magic comes. So yeah, so keep it in touch, and let your tentacles go far and wide, but keep the ones that are working close to you.
Thank you.
That's what I would do.
Appreciate that. Yeah, man. Have a great day, and thank you for your support. I appreciate you getting on here and just sharing with any prospective student out there that I'm able to connect this message to. And yeah, just excited to share with you a little compilation of probably you and some of your friends sharing the message, and doing it in a way that it's just, that TikTok attention span is real for people nowadays. So this 47-minute discussion is probably not going to be everything that everybody hears, but even just little clips are going to be.
I just say break it down into little bites. But yeah. I do appreciate you asking me to be on, and like I said, I wish you the best with this. Let's see our profession flourish.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Have a great day.
Take care, Jeff.